We can move to the next slide. Okay. So our budget goals with technology, as always, we're always assessing, we're reevaluating, we're looking at our recurring costs, really trying to make sure we have the most savings possible. We want to implement operational efficiencies for the best outcome when it comes to our student learning. And, as Margaret said earlier, we are constantly looking and reevaluating and looking to see our usage, what is being used, what do we need to be used to cut costs as much as possible while ensuring that we keep supporting the student learning that we expect to have. We're continuing to support current initiatives. We work with all department and building stakeholders. We want to reflect, evaluate, identify effective instructional technology tools to support those initiatives. That was really evident this past summer as we had to really switch gears and prepare for this unusual school year. Really working with all of those stakeholders was key in making some really important decisions. Continuing to build self-sufficiency and sustainable systems for support and staff training. As Margaret mentioned earlier, she was able to support a lot of that with some of the grants, the title money. Additionally, we've been doing that with our tech coaches who have been just vital this school year, and our Google certification program, really ensuring that our teachers and all of our staff in the buildings know instructional technology tools and also know how to help themselves. So we have an internal technology support site. We have our help desk, but we're trying to teach our teachers to, not give them fish, but fish for themselves. So, and having our tech coaches on duty at all times has been really helping in that process. We've been continuing the one-to-one device initiative, which we did not initially plan. We had the model happening somewhat at the elementary schools, but with COVID this year, we quickly had to move to one-to-one devices. So we're continuing to support that initiative now that we've gone forward with that, and making sure that all students and staff have access to a district device and access to the internet itself. Really important, making sure our infrastructure is up to date. This is a big thing that's happening in the next coming budget cycle, to really ensure that the safety and security of our data and our systems. Our number one goal is to support student learning, but behind that are some of the necessary requirements to ensure that we have the technology that we have, that all of the information that we have of students and families is safe and secure, as well as our staff. And with that, continuing to implement the New York State Department of Education laws and guidelines for cybersecurity and data privacy. Last year, the New York State put out some new additions to Ed Law 2D that we did. We had the policy this past summer that we passed for that. You've appointed me as a data protection officer. So in that work, again, making sure that our network and our data is safe. So that's some of the big goals that we're working on. As you can see, the 5-year plan, we had the mobile learning, like I said, at the elementary schools. And then this current school year, we quickly switched gears. So we went to one-to-one devices for all students. So we had to figure out how to make sure that every student had a device, as well as the instructional staff. So teachers, teaching assistants, how everybody had devices. Now that we're looking into the next year, it's time for infrastructure upgrades. So about 7-8 years ago, there was a bond that supported the increase and implementation of a lot of the Wi-Fi that's currently in place, a lot of the switches that we have in our server rooms. It is now time to replace that. They are costly, but they are necessary. And we've been, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, and we did have a grant that we were able to provide some support for the Wi-Fi. We're trying to do some of that work now. Actually, next week, all of the Wi-Fi will be updated district-wide, but there's more to be done. We're looking to do external Wi-Fi as well, and then increase things like firewalls and switches. So that's the big push this summer, as well as ensuring that we continue the one-to-one devices. Unfortunately, Chromebooks really have a life of about 4 years. So we have to replace some of those Chromebooks this summer to make sure every student's one-to-one. Looking ahead, we're thinking the following school year, we can focus purely on classrooms and teacher workstations, at the district office, the middle school and the high school. the replacement plan has been pushed a bit based on COVID and these other needs. So those computers are going to need to be replaced. There's a discussion and evaluation of what that may look like, desktops, laptops, and again, continuing the one-to-one devices for all students K through 12. So hardware, I'm not proposing any changes to hardware. This is put in really for emergency purposes, mostly as needed. If we have items that fail or that need support, we have this amount. So really looking to keep this as the same amount as the prior year with a 0% change. This is where you're going to see a big change. And with contractual, this is anything that we need services done, things that we can't do through Boces or any other aidable place. So some of this is just our regular instructional technology tools. We have our internet, which we recently increased to 2 gigabytes from 500, which we had the year before. Our phone services is run by the same company. First Light actually just purchased Best Web, who we did have our internet running from before, and also Optimum Cable Services. Our EduTech team of 4 engineers plus regional support. So for example, this year and this past summer, every time they could, EduTech would send us extra engineers to just help do Chromebook swaps, help with the help desk. So they're always providing additional support and knowledge where they can. Cybersecurity and data privacy services. This is a big thing, as I said, with EdLaw 2D. So some of this comes out of contractual. Some of this you'll see I was able to purchase some through the Boces services, but this allows us to do phishing tests, internal phishing tests within our district, penetration testing, making sure that our networks are strong, making sure that, so this year I want to make sure that we can test how someone can get into our network from the outside, but is also what happens when they are inside the network. We run audits with this. Most recently, I did a Google audit of our admin console of Google to make sure that we had things cleaned up and done well. So we're going to continue that kind of work and just constant analysis and revamping of policies to make sure we follow the NIST framework. Again, we have our firewall, our anti-malware, endpoint protection. We just implemented that mid-school year this year after seeing a lot of districts unfortunately have ransomware and attacks. So endpoint protection has been proven to be, it's costly, but it's really effective. It puts really a bubble on each machine that's in the district. So, but we have to pay per machine. So every laptop and every desktop. We do not need it for mobile devices like Chromebooks or iPads. And then also any of the network monitoring, we use this for internally, we're monitoring our systems, but we also have monitoring with GoGuardian for students, which the buildings use, teachers use. It's a way for us to ensure that students are using their district accounts appropriately. And if not, we're able to provide support. We have redundant backup systems in place. We have 2 of them, most importantly for Envision, our financial system. So God forbid something happens, we are able to go to those backup systems and recover our information. Infinite Campus is our student information system. So we have added just recently, and we're going to continue to support online registration, which has been really great. We just rolled it out about a month ago. So all those kindergarten registrations we're seeing are all happening online, and they're doing it through Infinite Campus. So any parent who already has a portal account is able to utilize that. And if not, they're able to create one using online registration. We are rolling out Backpack. Backpack is going to allow for all families to access information such as report cards. So rather than waiting for a report card to be mailed to you and then not having access to it again, you'll be able to go on at any time and see your students' information. Data tracker is something that came out of an audit the prior year, ensuring that any changes that happen with student data has really a tracking system onto it. So you can see anybody who makes changes, anything that's done. So that was something that was recommended by the auditors and that we have implemented. We also have ShoutPoint messaging system. That's those lovely phone calls and emails and text messages that we all were talking about before. We are looking at some alternatives. We do not love this system. It is a cheaper system for us, but we are looking at some alternatives that we think can give us more value all around to schools. So it's something I'm still looking into and having conversations with other vendors and other school districts for their recommendations. We have our asset and inventory management. So every single device we have, and this is again something recent that we just started and we're supporting. So we have our own internal system now. So everything that we own gets tagged with a barcode. We can scan it with our phone with an app. We know who it belongs to, where it's supposed to be. So that's been proving to be very helpful. We pay for printer fleet support. We're not printing as much, which is really good news. And we've been reducing as much as we can, but we do print. So we do have, we pay for guts to support our printers. This BOE filming and production. So all of these board meetings that we talk about, Greg does a phenomenal job. We do have to pay him for his great work. So his filming and editing of all of our meetings and post-production. And then installation is something that's a little bit higher this year because we are doing so much of the infrastructure replacement of, things like access points and servers and firewall that does require installation. So you'll see it increase right here because of a lot of those labor costs that go with that. I don't foresee that next year we'll see the same amounts because a lot of it will be desktops and Chromebooks, which is within the realm of our regular EduTech work. And then finally, all of this expensive equipment and things that run the network, we need to make sure we have warranties on. So when things do go, we do have some protection. So we pay for that as well. So there it is a 15% increase. It is large, but those are some of the reasons for those increases. So you'll see it.
Wait, Lisa had a question.
Sure.
So I just was wondering one thing, what is the difference between the backpack program and what we get with Infinite Campus as a parent? You said it was a different way of providing report cards. We can always access those on Infinite Campus. I'm just trying to understand what the difference is between the
So
two.
Backpack is new. So we're just learning about exactly how to onboarding it right now. And that's something that actually Carmen helps us with. And one of my EduTech engineers is helping us with as well. So it's an add-on to Infinite Campus. So all of the online registration, Backpack, and data tracker are all add-ons to Infinite Campus. So it enhances what Infinite Campus already offers. And it's going to save us as well, rather than, Margaret does a lot of mailings, paper mailings. The schools do a lot of paper mailings. Instead of doing that, people will be able to access the information online.
Right. Is this, Laura, this is the program that would take the place of at least part of the contract we have with the RIC to get the test scores out to parents once they're received.
Yep.
So normally the RIC will do this for us and bill us a not inconsiderable amount of money. And this was a more reasonable way for us to do the same thing.
Can I just, I'm going to jump into with this, that this will allow us to keep multiple years instead of, how you cannot access the report card after a certain period of time. We'll be able to house the report cards, progress reports for multiple years with this backpack.
That'd be really nice, because I've always been a little bit frustrated if I don't get that report card printed by the right deadline, it disappears and I don't have access to it anymore. So thank you. That's really great. The other question I had is just to do with the one-to-one devices and what we're looking at for the fall. For the students who currently have devices, are we going to be doing a swap off of those? Are we going to just have them keep them for the fall with the seniors who are graduating? What are we thinking about with that?
So the plan is to collect every single device in June, which will be quite an undertaking, but we managed to do everything we did last year. So we are going to collect every device. Last year we did not, because sanitary reasons. We just felt it was easier and safer for people to keep the devices they had, but we're going to be putting our devices on a more organized structure and schedule. We're still working out the details, but the thought being that we would assign students a device that they would have for 4 years. So once we bring all these devices back, clean them, get them ready to be rolled out again, make sure everything is in it has an asset tag on it and it's inventoried. We're thinking that for example, a 5th grader would get a Chromebook that they would last them through 8th grade. A ninth grader would then also get a Chromebook that would last them through 12th grade. So they would be assigned that same Chromebook for those 4 years. We're looking at the elementary to identify whether we want them to go home with students or not, or stay in the classrooms, but with a similar model. So thinking that every year we would be replacing about 3 grade levels every year to keep that schedule going. It's a little bit wonky right now because we bought as many Chromebooks as we needed this year. And so now we're trying to match the models of the Chromebooks when they expire to specific grades. So that's going to be a lot of the work that we're going to do this summer.
Corey, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for doing this. We've been talking about this for a long time. And, I think it's so important for our technology to keep up with the times. And, kids learn from the usage of this technology, and we have to do our best to protect them also. And I'm just really happy to see that we're investing in this. So to me, the 15% isn't quite enough, but it's a good start.
I'm trying, like I said, I laugh because I pay more attention to this budget than I do my own budget. And I'm constantly trying to crunch the numbers, and I'm going back and forth with vendors to say, do you really need to charge us for this many licenses? Can I get it for this? So I'm trying to save us as much money as possible while ensuring that we're doing the right thing. And that was a recent conversation with a vendor that we're thinking about for the penetration testing. And really, we want to make sure what we purchase, we're going to also be able to utilize. So if we get pen testing done, I want to make sure I have the support to utilize whatever suggestions they make, based on that analysis. Right. So maybe I do some of that now, and then the following year we pay for some more remediation work. So really just trying to parse it out. But yeah. I appreciate your support, and I think that's really important. And I'm weekly meet with all the directors of technology throughout the region, and some of them are frustrated and are challenged by not having enough support and understanding of the importance of this work. And I think you as a board have continued to support us, and it's important. If something goes wrong here, it's going to cost us a lot more money than it would be to spend that we're doing right now.
100%. And those pen tests are one-shot deals. This shouldn't be the only time we do it. We should be doing it on a regular basis. Annually is actually best. And hopefully after the first one, after we've remediated a lot, as we do additional pen tests, there will be very little to do, hopefully, each time going forward. So, this is great. I really think that, it's moving in the right direction, and it's enabling our kids to be more successful in a technology-focused world.
Yeah.
Looks like that's it for now, Laura. We can continue on.
All right. So as I said earlier, this one has a significant decrease because I shared this last year that I've been slowly trying to, in my mind, edit and clean up where our money goes and in what budget line it goes in. So we purchased a ton of software, instructional software, and trying to move as much of that to Boces and LHRIC as possible has been my goal. One, because it saves us money. We get money back on this. It's aidable. And also, this is aidable, but the Boces money is a little bit different. And then Ed Law 2 compliant. So right now, as a data protection officer, I am responsible for every vendor we use to sign our parent bill of rights and to sign the third-party addendum indicating, what they're going to do based on our policies with our student data. It is quite time-consuming to do that with every single vendor. So it's vendors we pay for and also free vendors. But anything we pay for, if I purchase it through Boces and LHRIC, not only is it aidable, but also they take care of that for us, and they ensure that all of these vendors are Ed Law 2D compliant. So it's very important. So I work with Putnam Northern Westchester Boces. We're part of model schools there. And then also anything else that we can't get through model schools, we go through the LHRIC. And so that's just a really, it makes me feel a lot more secure about everything that we're doing and what we're buying and the things that we're putting our student information into. So there's a lot that I'm not purchasing anymore through this code, because if we go to the next slide, you'll see that I'm purchasing a lot through Boces and LHRIC. So a lot of our, it's broken down really into instructional technology tools. So these are the tools that teachers are using. ClassLink has been something we rolled out this year, where students have one place to go to sign on to all of their apps that they need with their teachers. It's been great for password resets. Forgetting your password and needing to reset it is huge, and especially if you're remote. Used to have to do it when you were in network. Now with ClassLink, you can do it from anywhere. Smart Learning supports all of our smart boards, and there's Smart Learning Online that a lot of teachers use. So whether they're in person or they're remote, they're able to work interactively with their students. The elementary school teachers this year have been using Seesaw, which is also interactive. All the teachers have been loving Edpuzzle. Kami has been great, a simple tool that allows you to annotate onto PDFs and respond right away. It integrates into Schoology at the high school level, so they've been loving that. Google Enterprise was Google Suite for Education. Now it's Google Workspace for Education, so they changed the name on us. So that is how we pay for a lot of our Google services, including Google Meet and all the resources that come with that. We have a small number of licenses for Zoom, for board meetings, for principals. Specific people have access to Zoom. That's for when we have really large presentations, and then things like Adobe and Microsoft, which previously we were purchasing directly through another vendor or directly through that vendor, but now we're able to purchase them through Boces and LHRIC, which that's a new thing this year. Instructional software. This is something that I work really closely with Margaret with. So I manage the purchasing of it, but Margaret really looks at the nitty gritty of what teachers are needing, because these are supplements to the instruction that's happening every day in the classroom. Some of these things are BrainPop. We also have BrainPop Junior, Learning A to Z. So if you see your students being assigned any of this work when they're home, you'll see a lot of this work happening. iReady, Newsella, iExcel. ESGI is something the kindergarten and first graders have been using. And then we also have a plethora of frontline, but frontline RTI specifically is used to identify students that may be at risk within the district, within the buildings. Again, library services we purchased through Boces. Again, this is something that Margaret is working on in tandem with me and looking at the numbers. We talk to the library media specialists. We really say, are you using this? Do you need this? And trying to make sure that if we are using it, we have the support so the teachers know to use it and take full advantage of it. As I said, we use Frontline a lot. So Frontline Central, we rolled out last year, not knowing COVID was coming, but my gosh, I'm so glad we did, because we were able to do all of our human resources work virtually online. We used to have to come to the office, fill out paperwork, scan stuff, email stuff, come back to the office again. So we were able to do all of our hiring through Frontline Central because we had the system already set up and in place. So every time we hire a new teacher, we onboard them through that process, and then they're linked to all of our systems. ASOP is how our staff identify if they're absent, how we fill those absentees with substitute teachers. Frontline Professional Growth is where we manage our teacher evaluation system, as well as all the professional development that Margaret, Lisa, and I offer, or our own teachers offer. They utilize professional growth to run these courses, manage attendance, manage records. So that's something we brought on last year as well. OLAS is where we post for any vacancies. Whenever we have any positions that need to go out and we're trying to hire, we use OLAS. We have GCN for all of our mandatory training that all staff must participate in, and EAP has been a really great tool, especially this year. It provides a lot of services, whether it be financial or social and emotional needs for our staff. Again, some of the data management services and cybersecurity services we're able to get through Boces and LHRIC. So you'll see that on both contractual and on this tab as well. We purchase our website, which is hosted by Blackboard. So we purchased that through Boces, and our school messaging system, as I mentioned before, also is partially coming out of this budget. So you see, like I said, you're going to see a big increase, but there was a big decrease in the slide before just because we're shifting things over. So I'm hoping next year it'll look a little bit more even as we're more cleaned up. Supplies, it is what it is. I'm not changing this either. Supplies are as we need them. Cases, cables, power cords. My gosh, power cords is something that has been definitely an issue with us. People breaking, losing power cords. So we're actually starting to add those to our inventory system and tag them. Just server racks, projector bulbs. So we have classrooms that are using smart boards that have projector bulbs that can be quite expensive. If those go out and those break, so we're needing to replace those. Anything that my technology team needs to get their work done, it could be as simple as a screwdriver that they may need to open up a Chromebook and swap out the battery. So all of the supplies that falls into that, but I don't foresee a need to increase that. So again, that's 0% change. And then finally is our lease. So every year the lease amount may vary based on needs. As I said earlier, we're going to be focusing on all the upgrades to the infrastructure and the Wi-Fi. So some of that is the switches, UPS, internal and external access points, our firewalls, and our server hardware. There was a lot based on the construction that happened this past year. Our main server room had a lot of construction done to it. So, we've been tweaking and improving that. And now we're going to be able to finalize a lot of that this summer with some of these new purchases. So this is the overview. So in overall, the increase is 6.5%. I did my best to try to keep that as low as possible. And I only put in here what I absolutely thought we need, which is why you don't see easy little numbers. They're to the dollar of what I think that we truly believe we need based on all the quotes we've been getting. And I believe that's it.
Thank you, Laura. That was a lot of detail. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions? Looks like all of the questions were answered prior. Thank you very much.